all these things like observing color and the change of color, and also trying to get hold on these phenomena. It's very much like me. So I'm sort of as well in the realm of the poetry of it, as well as in the exactness of it, the physical science nearly of it. So that is what I found remarkable in the text. Also the word reflection of color, which is very much a theme for me. And I've studied and built many things in the dunes, many constellations of panels in the dunes to catch these reflections. Because when I was living in Amsterdam, I was already making that, but I didn't know if it would react the same way if I would build it large. I didn't know that, and I couldn't foretell. So I started in the dunes where I had this sort of sand bowl, which was empty from, let's say, half of August till the end of October. And then you had to clear out the space, and you could come back in the beginning of March. And then it was also very quiet till July. So only the summer holiday period, it was crowded in that area. And then the other time it was very silent. And there I could do all these constellations. So I noticed that it stays like that also in the big size. So that was very, I learned a lot from my whole perception on things in observing color for very long and for days on end, let's say. See how the light changes, how the colors change, how the complementary colors come into being. I'm reading a lot in the morning in Robert Macfarlane, Landmarks, and I have a lot of his books. And then especially that book, I find such a joy to read and to know that there are people in this world that share the same view as you. That is such a great feeling, because I have spent years in the idea I'm apparently the only one that does like this and looks like this. No one seemed to be so keen on all that as I was. So that there is a lot of people just going out and being far more resilient also to cold and height and everything than I am. That's really amazing to read. They can mountaineer and stay up on height with nearly no protection and climb and walk and are not afraid to be out there all alone in the night, in deep in the woods. I wouldn't, I'm not so sure about that. I feel very strongly that my very first memories of great joy, let's say, a great sensory joy of just being there is connected with the dunes. So in the dunes, because of the sand, the grass is very thick and short. So it's very dense. And I loved to be on the dense grass with my feet and then feel the warmth of the sand and the sort of texture of the grass. And then I was still very young, so the flowers were very close to my eyes. Not so, now you are far more high above it. But with all these very bright yellow flowers that grow on this grassy dune landscape. The tree-colored violet, very special, very small kind of plant. So I loved whatever is small. I had a special connection to the precision and the smallness and the delicateness of the way the plants appear in the dunes. So you have violets that grow in other ground, other soil. They are much bigger, and especially, of course, the cultivated violet. But I always had a deep connection with these delicate plants that grow so close to the soil and they're very brightly colored, but also delicate. So they, I had a very special connection to it. And so I refer also always with, I feel still this happy, grateful feeling that as a young girl, I liked to ask my father to come with me to a certain scent bowl. You call it in the Dutch, you call it a duinpan. So it's a dune, and a pan is a sort of bowl-like casserole in French, a bowl-like pan, where you cook things in. And a pan, I think it's an English word, right, for cookery, right? So dune pan is the literal translation. And if the dune pan is a small bowl, it gets really hot inside. It gets at the end of the day, of a hot day. And you have bowls that are more wide and large. And they can be really, really big with a grassy floor. And there were some bowls like that in the dunes when I was very young. And I especially liked the transition from the daylight to the twilight. So for sure, the procedure was like this, that my mom made food for everybody on the regular good food time, which is around 6 o'clock or something. And then after that, there was still this whole fading of the light into the evening. And that at that time in the day especially evoked this atmosphere of wanting to be with the light, with the grass, with the flowers, with the atmosphere, with the appearance of this silence that animals come along and all this kind of stuff. So I liked to go there. And my father did very much a very good thing. He liked it too and enjoy this twilight atmosphere. But he just let me be, and he just was resting around that sort of wide open, grassy floored sand bowl. And that was a very happy memory for me, that you can share without words something that gives you the same kind of joy. So that is all June. And actually, I was conceived in the dunes. I made my first step in the dunes. I was having my first steps in the beach. So all these things are very much June oriented, one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And also very important for me is that I lived. I was born and stuff in the center of the Netherlands. That is meadow country, river country, flat, a lot of orchards. And of course, we lived in the city, but at the border of it, the back then border. And there was, at the other end of our street, a sort of little lake, not a lake, it was not natural, but it was digged out once and it filled with water. And we had a tiny boat there. So I went with my brother with that boat a lot in the very small waterways. And then you could travel just underneath huge flowers. and enjoying that atmosphere, and large beech trees in the river wood. If you biked, or not biked, but if you canoed long enough, you could get there. And so that was the landscape of my daily life, let's say. And then we went on holiday to the dunes. And that was for me a very stunning experience. And I never forget that this landscape started to become more open and open and open and open and more flat and more colorful. So you saw big stretches of yellow, and above this huge blue sky. It was summer. And I felt such sort of freeing atmosphere of that light got so bright and the colors got so bright. So that is something that formed me, I think. I don't see animals, let's say like deer or rabbit. That the deers were not in the dunes then. Rabbits, I loved their little round beads. For me, there were more beads. I liked it. I very liked the me, 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 me. They do me with their little paws, and the way they disappeared in the grass. But let's say that the animal. In one being a child, no, not so present. Later, when I had this sort of dune atelier in this big sand bowl, I think I once told you that I was putting up all these panels and seeing the reflections of the light on them, and suddenly I felt that someone was looking at me. And I noticed it, but I didn't feel afraid. And that sort of in a split second, that is what you notice. And that was special, that I didn't got afraid. And I turned around and there was a fox just laying in the sun on the sloping hill of the upgoing dunes around that sand bowl. And he was just observing me. Hey, a creature doing a couple of things. And I found that a special meeting. And also, this is also quite recent. I met another fox, just accidental. My eyes fell just accidentally into his eyes because he was hidden behind a shrubbery of the dune thorn bushes with their orange berries. And I felt, I don't know, I had to describe, I felt very, that my eyes fell into the eyes of another being. And there was just this movement of our eyes falling into the same look to each other. And there was nothing else to it. Like with the human contact, I have all these by effects, like that makes me nervous a bit, like all these, these human thoughts, like like these things. Am I good enough? Am I this or that? Am I this? All these kind of stuff. But that was just not there, and that was to me a special. And then after a split second, I started to think, "Oh, but it is a fox. It could also be dangerous." And then, but was my thinking, adding from memory. Because we were as children very afraid of wild dogs and wild foxes and stuff. But in the first encounter, when I just had no memory mind jumping to it, there was just this just falling of two eyes into each other and just seeing. And that was it. And that felt so free, so happy to meet someone without any prejudice or any, whatever. And knowing that the prejudice and this whole constraint of comes from two sides always, also from my side. So you build together this constrained look one way or the other. And the fox just didn't have that. And therefore, it gave me the freedom to also not have that.